right. Let's give it another minute and then we will start. We have more people coming in. Thank you all. If you could please just mute yourselves when you come in and also shut off your camera so that only the speakers will be visible for everyone. I would appreciate that. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. I am Taz Latifi, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Today's session is designed to be informative, and we're here to also build community around something we all care deeply about: pet health and clean, bioavailable nutrition. We're going to introduce you to something we believe is truly game-changing: PhytoSmart. It is an unextracted marine microalgae, omega-3. And I know it sounds bold, but the science and the integrity behind this product is going to speak for itself. We have an amazing team here. Joining us is Dina Sisitsky, co-founder and CEO of PhytoSmart; Patrick Craigton, marine biologist, operations lead, grant writer. He's our everything. I go to him for everything. Dr. Jen Fahey, phytochemist, retired professor. And for those of you in the nutrition world who listen to any podcasts, who know anything about nutrition, he is the man. We have Larry Dressler. He is our fats expert who understands fats and their processing at a level most of us can only dream of. Dr. Jeff Feynman. He is the founder of Holistic Actions and a holistic vet in Weston, Connecticut. So let's get started. Dina, I'm going to start with you. Let's go to the beginning. What problem were you and Hero looking to solve when you decided to work with marine microalgae?
I would say at the core of our beliefs is that we are what we eat. You make bad nutrition decisions over time, you can expect bad health outcomes. That goes for us and that goes for our pets. My co-founder, Hero, grew up in a veterinary family. Both of his parents were veterinarians. And he understood the value of nutrition for pets and how it enhanced their lives. We had experience in algae and set about to look for species that offered high nutritional contents and decided to focus on omega-3s. At the beginning, we knew nothing other than extracted oil, omega-3. And at the beginning, that's what we set out to do with a particular species of algae. We had an aha moment, if you will, early on in our development. It was Hero that said, why are we going to extract like everyone else when the extraction process uses damaging heat and destroys all of the natural compounds and enzymes that the algae possess? And these are not only enzymes that protect it against the rapid oxidation that plagues every omega-3 product on the market now, but also metabolic enzymes that cause certain reactions to occur. That aha moment set us out on a 5-year odyssey to develop our technology, which is now patented, to grow our algae species that we grow in an environmentally controlled, sterile environment. The biggest difference is that we do not extract. The fish swim around in the ocean, eat the algae, or it's grown directly from the algae cells, has to be extracted. The fish have to be caught, killed, and the oil extracted. Heat is used in the process, and all of the good compounds are stripped away, and then the oil has to have synthetic additives that are reintroduced back into the oil to to tweak the formulation. And I like to talk more about the rapid oxidation, but what sets our PhytoSmart products apart is that we are a wholesale fresh food supplement.
Patrick, let's talk about the production system for how we grow and harvest the algae in this sterile, contaminant-free environment. Can you go over that and do a little comparison with extracted oils? Dina mentioned it slightly, but
Sure.
give me a comparison.
All right. Why don't I start with extracted oils? So microalgae are the source of omega-3, EPA, and DHA. The krill and the fish do not synthesize these molecules at any appreciable rate. So krill will consume microalgae, and that's how they get their omega-3s. And fish will consume the krill in the food chain, and that's how they'll get theirs. So it starts with microalgae. But regardless of how you get your oil, if you get it from a microalgae or a krill or a fish, the oil is heat processed. They use chemical solvents and they'll extract it so that it just has that one molecule that they're targeting, or one genre of molecules being omega-3s, and it will strip away everything else. And we have avoided that because it leaves the oil very prone to oxidation, and it also removes other things in our cells that are beneficial. Our process for microalgae growth is high tech, but relatively simple. So we have the patents and we have all the IP involved, and it is in a sterile system. So we control the input, we control the output, and we control the downstream processing. So there's no contamination or anything like that. It is what we make it, which is nice. And it's simple in the fact that all we're doing is growing microalgae. We feed them the nutrients they need, and then we harvest them. And so microalgae are a single cellular organism. It's microscopic. You can't see it naked eye. But when we grow trillions of them and we remove all the extracellular water, you're left with a biomass, or a paste, if you will, kind of like a peanut butter sort of consistency of wholesale microalgae. From there, you can consume that if you like, or what we also do is we'll dry it into a powder form. And that drying process is unique to our own. It's a low temperature and under inert gas in order to avoid oxidation issues and to maintain enzyme efficacies within those cells, which help with oxidation, among other things. What you're left with is a dried powder of microalgae, which we believe is a much more appropriate way to get your omega-3s than an extracted oil.
Of biologically active microalgae.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
They're still like probiotics, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Let me clarify something. A lot of pet professionals and customers don't fully understand what actually happens during oil extraction, both from fish and algae, and what oxidation actually is. Can you clarify how extraction can compromise the nutritional value and can open the door to oxidation?
Yeah, love to. As you know, the company is a big believer in omega-3s for their health benefits. We love them. And so one of the primary benefits of omega-3s is inflammation reduction. Another benefit would be cognitive or cardiovascular health. When you have an oxidation of an omega-3 product or molecule, it's an acceptance of a free radical onto that molecule. And so effectively, your health outcomes from consuming an oxidized omega-3 are inverse to what you're trying to achieve. You're going to promote inflammation when you consume an oxidized omega-3 molecule. Omega-3 molecules oxidize at an incredibly high rate due to their double bond structure compared to other oils. And so when you do an extraction process and you're just left with the oil, there's nothing to protect it from oxidation. The companies will use, if you look at, on the shelf, products generally have an opaque bottle to avoid some sunlight. They've got a sealed cap and they're encapsulated. They'll also add tocopherol, which is a synthetic vitamin E. And the goal of that is to just oxidize quicker than the oils. But all of that has a limited shelf life. And we know from various scientific studies that have taken random samples of these products off the shelf that they are oxidized above the level that the manufacturer considers safe before you even open the bottle. There's a large issue in the entire market. If half of the bottles on the shelf are already oxidized above the rate, once you open that seal, they're oxidizing at an even faster rate. And so
you're saying that I've been taking oxidized oils for years, like
probably,
PhytoSmart.
yes, I would imagine yes. And so, I mean, every oil will oxidize at a particular rate. Omega-3s are quite bad at it, and some companies will do better than others. But they will test for oxidation at the point of manufacturing. But then from there, it gets bottled, sits in a pallet, goes to a store, sits in a store window, waits 6 months, and then you open it. And nobody tests for oxidation then, except for these studies that went out and did it. And at those points, they found that, they're already causing issues with your health rather than providing benefits. And so a lot of,
Pro-inflammatory then, if we're consuming oxidized fats. And is it just DHA and EPA that's the problem, or is it ALA and LA as well?
yes, it's pro-inflammatory, and yes, it affects all of the omega-3s. Due to the double bond structures, it will affect DHA more so than it will affect EPA, but still at an incredibly high rate. And then even less so for ALA, but they are all affected by oxidation.
This issue has been in the scientific community for a number of years. In 2022, The Guardian did a survey, a global survey of pet food stores, and found that 11 out of 12 omega-3 supplements on pet store shelves were already oxidized. So, and I think this helped to bring the issue from the scientific community to the mainstream.
Wow, who's mainstream? I still walk into pet stores and I see huge pumps and dropper bottles where you're squeezing air right into the containers. What happens if we're giving animals those products? How long does that 16-ounce bottle of salmon oil last in my home? And what should we do differently?
It varies from batch to batch, but not long. Most of the research suggests that within 90 days, it's completely oxidized. A large issue with the research is that when they do health-related outcomes, they do not test for oxidation of their oils. So they'll do large-scale trials, and they'll say, take this product, and we'll see what happens after over 5 years, 10 years to your health markers. But I'm yet to read one that takes into account oxidation of these products. And so I think that's led to a great muddying of the water for the benefits of omega-3s. And I certainly believe that's led to an increased serving suggestion of omega-3s. They'll say that you need a very large amount of omega-3s in order to hit your daily needs. And I think that's very disingenuous because they haven't accounted for half at least or more of that product already being oxidized.
Can we talk about the different types of omega-3s? Ethyl ester versus triglyceride versus phospholipid, and why that matters for absorption, stability, and ultimately the impact on health?
Yeah. Omega-3s come in a lot of different forms, but those are the three primary ones. Ethyl ester is sort of pharmaceutical grade synthesized in order to be ethyl ester, and that way they can standardize outcomes. It is the least bioavailable of all of the omega-3s. Bioavailable meaning useful in your body, I would say. Triglyceride is then the next bioavailable form of omega-3. You'll primarily get triglycerides out of fish oils. They'll have the highest concentration of triglycerides, then krill oils, and then algal oils. Phospholipid forms of DHA are the most bioavailable, and they're the only phospholipid forms of omega-3s. They're the only form of omega-3s that will cross the blood-brain barrier. So if you're looking to get any sort of cognitive benefits from omega-3s, your best bet is phospholipid, which the highest concentration of that comes from microalgae. You can synthesize omega-3s from shorter chain molecules. So you can go from an ALA to an EPA within your body. But this happens at a very low rate, maybe 2 to 4%, depending on the person. I'm sure some people can't do it at all. Then you can also synthesize phospholipid DHA from a triglyceride or an ethyl ester. That happens at an even lower rate. So essentially, if you're looking to get these molecules in your system, you have to get them pre-manufactured from your food. You're not going to be able to synthesize enough of them within your body. So if you want to be able to get enough omega-3s and enough phospholipid omega-3s, you're going to have to ingest them from a food source. You're not going to be able to synthesize them yourself. You can synthesize some, but nowhere near enough. And again, the only omega-3s that are going to cross the blood-brain barrier and help with cognitive function are your phospholipid forms.
And our DHA is a phospholipid.
Our DHA is very high in phospholipid form because it is a microalgae.
Okay. And can we go back to the extraction versus our process and how we can capture the integrity of these nutrients with our process versus an extracted oil?
So with extraction, we're left with just those molecules in a high concentration. With our process, those molecules are within the cell. So they're encapsulated within the cell wall. That protects from oxidation as itself, but also will have active enzymes that combat oxidation. Everybody has active enzymes that combat oxidation. And we preserve these within the cell, and that gives you the cleanest form of omega-3s. So that way, when you ingest them, they are not oxidized.
And they are preserved because of our process.
Thank you, Tina.
What is that?
That is for That preservation comes from our drying process. So companies will dry microalgae, particularly the microalgae that they have already spent on their extraction process. So typically, if they grow a microalgae, they'll extract that oil, and then they will spray dry that microalgae under high heat, incredibly high heat.
Are you left with any omega-3 fats at that point or just protein?
No, they've taken the omega-3s fats out. And then what you're also doing is denaturing all those proteins. So it's a way for them to use a waste stream, but they're not providing a very nutritionally beneficial product at all. So the difference is we dry under a low temperature and we dry under inert gas. So there's no oxygen involved in the process. And you're maintaining your enzyme efficacy that way.
All right, so can we talk about the industry then? We have been taught something very different than this. And this is why I believe we are very innovative and we are ahead we're not really ahead. We're here where we are. We're doing something that is true to nature, and we have to fight an upward battle to prove that this whole food product is superior to the extracted oils on the market. Jed, I want to go to you. You've seen a lot of ingredient processing. What stood out to you when you first reviewed PhytoSmart system and end product?
Honestly, the fact that there is no high pressure and no heat involved in preparing that algae from growth to sealed package. As Patrick mentioned, the drying process and the packaging is done under an inert gas. That equates to lack of oxidation of whatever you're serving up. this might be a little radical and I don't have good evidence for it, but I might suggest that some of the extracted oils that Patrick will be comparing to, that are either extracted from fish or extracted from algae and processed concentrated oxidants are added. When they are consumed, especially if you consume more and more because you're saying, well, 80% of the DHA has been oxidized, you may be doing more harm than good. You're providing a pro-inflammatory dose of something to the body, be it human or pet, and so you may be doing more harm than good. I immediately realized, and look, before I was introduced to PhytoSmart, I was trying to find good omega-3 oils to take myself. And it is almost impossible to do, frankly. So I was immediately attracted to the process. Also, having spent my very earliest scientific years growing spirulina and being an algal physiologist, I was very attracted to the process, to the gizmos, to the, to how this is done. And it's, as Patrick said, it's about, I think you were a little self-deprecating and you said it's really low tech, but it is really low tech. It's just growing the stinking algae, but doing it well, doing it cleanly, so there are no contaminants, and serving it up in a non-oxidized form. Anyway, it's a long answer to your question. What attracted you to PhytoSmart?
Good, great answer. Thank you. Thank you. And cleanly, that's another thing that I think we should talk about. Aside from oxidized oils that we're consuming, and Nancy Hassel just put a question here. What about fish oil capsules that people take? Are they oxidized? Well, how is that different than the pumps or the dropper bottles? Those are still prone to oxidation, but we have to talk about the process a little bit more maybe, and how oils are made. And I'm going to let you take it.
Yeah. So the only difference between the encapsulated oils and the pump bottle or the dropper bottle is that it's encapsulated in whatever it is they like to put it in, but it's probably a vegetable glycerin. So that will add a little bit of protection being encapsulated, but there's plenty of peer-reviewed literature. When they look at those bottles on the shelf, they are oxidized too. So I would suggest, if, a capsule is probably better than a pump bottle, and I would say almost certainly better than a dropper bottle. But if I'm going to recommend anything, it's our product.
Well, one thing that I've seen going into pet stores, I see these. Forever I used Nordic Naturals, was one of my favorite products until us. But I would see bottles sitting on shelves with sunlight hitting the bottles. Once I started working with PhytoSmart, I keep thinking, oh my God, there's a pet owner that's going to buy that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just heat. Sunlight will do that. And so sunlight and heat, and obviously oxygen. If you're using an oil, I would suggest putting it in the refrigerator. That will slow down the rate of reaction, and it also reduces any light. It will still stay liquid. Even if you freeze it in your freezer at 4 degrees, it'll still stay liquid. So you could throw it in there too if you like. Not a pump bottle. Don't try and freeze one of those. But a capsule, sure.
Can I just go back to my previous answer and add? I'd just like to emphasize to anybody who's interested that what PhytoSmart is delivering is this cell. It's a single cell with not only a cell wall, but various cell membranes, and then a vacuole, or a little bag within a bag, if you will, protecting the oil. I mean, the oil is in a globule within this cell. It is highly protected. It is protected from oxidation and just about everything else. So unless and until you crunch that cell, which is pretty difficult to do unless you use high pressure and temperature, and fry it or freeze thaw it, it's going to stay protected the way Mother Nature intended the contents of the cell to stay protected. In addition, Patrick, you mentioned this, but in addition, there are enzymes within that bag within a bag or within that cell, that are that evolve to protect the guts of the cell, if you will, improper terminology, but the guts of the cell from oxidation and other forms of damage. And so how active and how long those protective enzymes stay active is a question we haven't answered yet, but certainly they help keep that package protected. This is just way different from getting a bottle of oil and squirting it out or squeezing it out or putting it in gel caps that, as you were mentioning, stay on the shelf for a long time and can freely diffuse gaseous molecules in and out, by the way. Those gel cap, they're soft gels, I guess a lot would call.
Okay. I think we understand what PhytoSmart is, I think. Does anyone have any questions that you want to ask from the team? Otherwise, I can still go. All right, let's see. And I knew, Nicole, you would be asking this question. 2 questions. I will preface this with that I understand this is the future, but first, what protocols are in place to ensure safety? Oh, I love this question. Example, contamination from pathogens. Do you have safety testing reports publicly available? Second, what published clinical data do you have to demonstrate the clinical therapeutic effect? I think a challenge with this is the published data on omega-3s and their benefits, at least from a veterinary practice perspective. In other words, I understand we've learned more and have more info and have demonstrated the negative attributes of oxidized, poorly sourced products, but what are we doing to communicate this better? Who wants to take this?
Well, I should probably take the first part.
You should.
Yeah,
Some good tests.
great question. So we're in the FDA inspected facility, and they came and inspected us, and it was honestly, I was disappointed in their lack of inspection. But
Lack of finding. You mean lack of finding?
yes. Well, no, there's more. I was providing much more than they wanted me to provide, which is in terms of safety. But so our process is protected as in from biological contaminants because our growth is a xenic. So in our bioreactors, we know there is only one thing, which is our cell. When we do our downstream processing, we take the appropriate food manufacturing precautions and we test for Salmonella, E. coli, all the other bugs, total plate counts, things like that. Is it publicly available? I don't know if all that's on the website, but
we can certainly put.
Yeah. Yes. And so, yes, we have a bunch of safety protocols in order to maintain the food safety standards. And I would say that we are human grade, but I don't know if I base my safety protocols off human food. Yeah.
Yes. And the other thing is, our algae doesn't survive if there's any contaminants in that container.
Well, that I know. I know they're in a container.
You know.
That we know. I wouldn't be able to. Yes.
Yeah, the concern that the question is addressing really pertains more to downstream after it comes out of the tank during the processing.
Okay.
I hope that answers. If that does that need more clarification? I hope that answers.
Hey, Nikki, you can jump on.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was gonna
No.
anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. And the only other comment I would make is that, the publicly available batch data just makes everybody's life easier, both from a retail perspective and a clinical perspective, for sure.
Absolutely. And then I think your last was clinical evidence, which we don't have for pets. We have ran trials with fish. We've got a couple of grants to run trials with fish feeding trials. And those both showed improved survivability. But other than that, I don't have health benefits associated with our particular product.
Well, we have the egg layer study as well. There, the hen layer study as well. And we will be working with UConn in the near future. Hopefully we're getting that set up. And we have a couple of other things going on with NOAA. So there's a lot happening. We've had the product in the marketplace. Dina, you can talk about this for 5 years and we have anecdotal evidence.
Yes, maybe Dr. Jeff could speak to that because he's seen it with a lot of the pets that he treats, improvements beyond what you would expect.
And yeah, that's the bottom line. It's that it works, that we use it, that it's palatable, that the dogs and the cats like it, and they get better beyond what we would expect otherwise using the artificial omega-3s. But, I do want to take a little bit of a step back because we've been kind of on the micro level, molecular level, which I appreciate as a molecular biologist, but really now my focus in my practice and holistic actions is really all about vitality, and it's all about the energy that we need to survive. And by far the way to get that maximally is by following Mother Nature. The fact that the product is as close to natural as we can find without the oxidation is a real big boon, which may be part of why we see the benefits beyond what we see taking the conventional oils. One more thing I just want to mention is we talk about longevity and health span, lifespan, and it is all based on energy. Cellular energy is what enables all the body to work, and the omega-3s are going to, and especially the omega-3s that we get from algae and from things like SmartZyme or ZipZyme, it's going to upgrade the mitochondrial cell walls, and these are published data. It's going to actually improve mitochondrial function and improve cellular energy and vitality, which translates into better health span and a decrease in problems. So yeah, but we really, 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 and I know, Dina, we've talked about this for years, we really do need some clinical studies.
We're getting there.
We've got lots of anecdotal
Working on that, Jeff. This is where we're headed. Absolutely. Nikki, did I answer your questions?
Yes, it did. And hi, Dr. Jeff.
Nikki.
We have a question from Logan. Hi, Logan. Are there strategies to maximizing omega-3 absorption, such as taking PhytoSmart with certain types of foods or time of day, consistency, etc.? Who wants to take this? Patrick, Dina, me, Dr. Jack.
I can take. I would say that you would need much less of a strategy as it is already a whole food. I mean, it would, if you're intermittent fasting, I'd keep it in there. But in terms of taking it with something else in order to improve absorption, I don't think there's any data to suggest that would be necessary. But correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
With omega-3 fats, they suggest taking it with food, with fatty foods, right?
Well, that is
Vitamin D, omega-3 fats, take it with fatty foods, but
I would say with some of the fat soluble vitamins, you want to take them with fatty foods. I think that's less a concern
Yeah.
with a DHA product itself, with an oil product. I mean, you're providing a fat. It is a fat. So as
Yeah.
Patrick said, don't take it. Don't get up in the middle of the night and take it, or get your pet up in the middle of the night and take it when their digestive tract is hopefully on a hiatus, but with a meal or I certainly don't see why it couldn't be during the.
our product is a food topper. We have it in a shaker bottle, so you can just sprinkle it on top of the food. We have a pure DHA. We have a DHA and EPA combination of two essential fatty acids. And we have a DHA and broccoli sprout combination, a 70-30 blend. With any of those, I do recommend, since it is a food topper, put it on top of your pet's food, or you can give it after a meal, or even just use it on top of a treat. It's super palatable. Cats love this. When I see cats eating it, I know we're in a good place, because dogs will eat almost anything. But as far as time of day, maybe having a little food in your stomach or in your pet's belly would be a good way to go, having post meal or during meal, but not on an empty stomach necessarily. You're welcome, Logan. Do we have any other questions? God, quiet. Okay. And is there anything you guys want to leave off with? My PhytoSmart team.
Francine was asking a question.
Oh, I know. Francine, when sprinkled on food, should the powder be wet?
In other words, should I wet it a little on top of the food?
I wouldn't use hot water,
That's-
but you
mm,
can wet it. It's weighty enough where usually, unless your dog or cat takes a big snort, they're not going to inhale it into their.
No, he doesn't do that.
Gross. I mean, you've clearly used it, Francine, so you know what it's like. And the DHA EPA is a little bit more crumbly than the DHA by itself is. So it really depends on your pet. Do whatever works best for your pet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How much topper would you give a 75-pound dog? So on the shaker bottle, we have the amount. I would give about a 1/4 teaspoon per day for a 75-pound dog. Do we want to talk about dosing at all? Because our dosing is very different than the high concentrated doses out there in the omega-3 oil sector. Our product looks like you don't have to take a lot, but you do get the benefits of it. Patrick, do you want to touch on dosing a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk more from the human side. I'm not so familiar with dosing, particularly with cats, but
No, just general.
yeah. So, as we discussed for a multitude of reasons, I think the dosing requirements or expectations for omega-3 oils are grossly overinflated. Our product has 20 milligrams of DHA per gram, and I believe that is enough for a human, but I don't have a clinical trial to show that. So, because of it being clean, unoxidized, and phospholipid form, we believe that it provides the benefits that you're going to need much better than taking whatever 300 milligrams of an oxidized triglyceride oil that you might find on the shelf. Does that answer the question? A little bit.
A little bit, but can you elaborate why we have these concentrated doses in oils? Or it's the whole food, it's the whole cell. And Jed already touched on this before. You're taking the whole fat.
When you're taking omega-3 oils, as we said before, the manufacturers test it for oxidation during the manufacturing process. And then, as we said, it has a long way to travel and trailers and pallets and everything till it gets to the store. By the time you get it, there is no way to know how much, if any, is still effective. So that is why, aside from it being triglyceride and not being as bioavailable, that is why you do with our product. So was it GOED sets a standard, which is the omega-3 self-organization to govern omega-3 standards. And
Well, that's self-regulated by industry, by the companies that run the omega-3 world.
Exactly.
Well,
And they set a standard of 5 for oxidation. And during the manufacturing process, these companies meet it. But in the travel, in the path that the product has to take, no one can guarantee or know how much is still effective when you consume it. Our product, we test at 0.1 versus 5, the industry standard. And we have measures to protect it during the packaging process, during the downstream, during the packaging, and when it sits on your shelves to maintain that low level of oxidation.
What is the shelf life of PhytoSmart?
18 months.
18 months. 18 months.
Yeah.
How'd you
Now, yeah. And so yes, the shelf life is based off the water activity level in the product. So, say 18 months.
18 months. And do keep it in a cool, dry place. Obviously, you don't want it to be exposed to heat, no matter what. Heat could be destructive for any kind of fat. We have run some peroxide tests where our product has been exposed, right, Patrick?
Oh, yeah.
And we're way below that.
Well, within the limits, yes. So, I mean, recently we ran a test that was a 20-hour AOM test, but regardless, they extract the oil from our product. This is a lab did it. We didn't do it. I was a third party. So they extract the oil from our product. So you're just left with the concentrated oil. And then they take that and they bubble it through. So bubbling with air and heating that oil up to almost 100 degrees Celsius. I'm not familiar with that is in Fahrenheit, but way hotter than anything you would expose your products to. And they did that for 20 hours, and we were still only at a 2.2 MEQ, which is, half of the industry standard for when it leaves their facility. And so this is something that you would never do with your product. And again, that was with our extracted oil. That's not how our product sits on your shelf. Our product sits still encapsulated and within the cell and with those protective enzymes. So we were pleased.
Yeah, definitely. And we are going to have some research happening in the very near future. We're working on a couple of things. And for those of you who asked, I will stay in touch with you and let you know where we are as we progress forward within PhytoSmart. If there are no more questions, I'm just going to open it up. Any other questions? Are we good?
I think
As I have a comment, but I'll wait till the questions are finished.
Jed, go for it because I don't see anything else.
Yeah, I just want, so you mentioned the combo product, the 70-30 mix with broccoli sprouts, because I've worked with broccoli sprouts for most of the last 3 decades. We felt that this would be a really good addition because, first of all, broccoli sprouts are a source of a compound called sulforaphane, which is highly protective to cells. It's a detoxifying phytochemical or phytonutrient, also antioxidant. So from a sort of added antioxidant perspective, we thought this was good. It also is a source of a lot of other phytochemicals, all of which have been shown in actually, there are 125 clinical trials now with broccoli sprouts or sulforaphane, the compound extracted from them. And I should say, not almost all of them are clinical trials, not with pets, but at any rate, hopefully that's coming. We need sources of funding for that. We've neglected to talk about or to mention the fact that these algal cells also have various beneficial phytochemicals. Forget the DHA for a minute, that when delivering them as the cells themselves, they are a rich source of phytochemicals that are good for you. Phytochemicals are, they're actually millions of them we know now. And yes, there are toxic plants and things you don't want to eat. There are chemicals that are toxic. The alga being used for PhytoSmart's product, of course, is not one of them. So most of those phytochemicals are either neutral or they're so what, or they're beneficial. So we've got really a multi-phytochemical package in this 70-30 blend, but let's not forget the fact that just delivering the alga alone is going to give you DHA plus beneficial phytochemicals. That, as Jeff was mentioning, enhance health span. And for those of you who haven't yet heard that word, that is squaring off the quality of life curve so that there is not this long progression into chronic disease that plagues so many people and animals. One day you just don't wake up, but it was a good ride until you got there.
Jesse, you had your hand up.
Well, it was going to be, my question was going to be directed at Jed to talk about the broccoli sprouts. So he answered most of my question. But I have one more, Jed, and this is, I guess, theoretical, and this may not be the venue, but have you thought about any synergistic effects between the broccoli sprouts and the omega.
The synergistic effects between broccoli sprouts and the omegas.
Yeah. So I have not, it's a very interesting question. I have not seen any evidence of synergies between sulforaphane, the major bioactive in broccoli sprouts that we've been working with mostly, and DHA or omega-3s. However, and this is just, I think, phenomenal. This was recently reviewed in a journal that I co-edited a special edition of. There are dozens of peer-reviewed papers now showing synergistic effects between sulforaphane and a variety of anti-cancer drugs, cancer therapeutic drugs, as well as between sulforaphane and some other phytochemicals. And what that means is that what that means for the cancer prevention community or the cancer therapeutic community, and this has got to get into the clinic, but it means that theoretically, these really highly toxic, these poisons that are given to control the growth of cancer cells, of course, have side effects that no one likes. I mean, they're toxic to other cells of the body. This is why chemotherapy is so difficult, and it's difficult to titrate the dose. If you have a synergy with a non-toxic phytochemical, what that actually means is you can lower the dose of the drug, paclitaxel or some other cancer therapeutic drug, and get the same effect. Lowering the dose and getting the same effect means less collateral damage, less side effect. So this is huge. And as I say, there are many dozens now of studies documenting this. And this is a ripe area for clinical research that really hasn't been done. So these are all laboratory, cell culture, cell line studies.
Thank you. Anything else, guys? Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you again for joining us today. We are really proud with what we've built with PhytoSmart and even more excited about creating this community. We are going to have another webinar coming up September 16th. So I hope you join us. We'll let you know what the subject is. If you have any recommendations, please email me. I know everyone here has my email address and most of you have my phone number. So please stay in touch. And I look forward to connecting with everyone. If you're interested in placing an order for your business or for yourselves, please reach out. We'd love to provide you with our amazing products. And I thank you again for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.